Beysolow, Nyanti. She's a female presidential aspirant running to become president of the Republic of Liberia. So how you doing, madam?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay. Okay, first, yes, I know we'll talk about your vision, and, what you intend to do when you get to the presidency. But first, let's know a bit about Sarah.
Well, Sarah's a Liberian. She's a Liberian woman who has served her country in a couple of capacities with the government of Liberia under the leadership of President Charles Taylor.
Okay.
Served with Ministry of Health. And in Ministry of Health, I had two portfolios. First was special assistant, where I was responsible for the ex-combatants. And then the second one was the National AIDS Control Program, period where I know you from.
Yeah, sure. I know myself. Where I know you from, so like was.
I left the government of Liberia and joined the UN.
Okay.
And started the UN at the first level, contractually, temporary contract, and then became a staff.
Okay.
Responsible for the Global Fund grants, the HIV proposal, which I wrote. I was responsible to implement it successfully. I was then recruited to go international and have been working in the international space on development programs and humanitarian programs and growing to the level of leadership in the UN. And recently retiring at the level of UN Assistant Secretary General, having had significant experiences and results that transform the lives of millions of people.
Now, so you've returned from a retirement and thought that it was quite necessary to head for the highest seat in the land. When did you realize that it was quite necessary to make the decision?
I effectively took early retirement from the UN. I didn't retire from working.
Okay.
I took early retirement from the UN, effective June 30th. And prior to that, there have been several conversations over the last years about whether or not I should come home and get engaged in leadership. I have explored that in years past.
Several conversations with who?
Several conversations with several people.
With the international community, or?
No, with various Liberians who at different points in time would, mention to me they felt that I should think about leadership in Liberia. Different people from different spectrum of our society have spoken to me about it, and I actually came to the point of a decision when I reviewed the different conversations, analyzed all of the possibilities, and then was convinced by my party, by the way, that we should be going for the presidency, given the fact that my vision for them was different, and they felt that the vision shouldn't wait for later. But most importantly, it also came at a time where we realized that many people felt they didn't have an alternative. We spoke to many people who felt that they weren't going to participate in these elections because they didn't like the options that they had. Many felt that they were going to participate, but they weren't clear. They weren't so sure that they could decide on any of the options that they had. And some just said, I won't vote at all. Because of that, we agreed as a party that we'll go forward for the presidency to share the vision we have with the Liberian people so that as many Liberians as possible will participate in our democracy. This is about ensuring that everybody comes out and finds an alternative. Everybody comes out and expresses their desire for Liberia through their vote.
Okay.
So it's participating in a way that's inclusive and ensuring that we continue to encourage all eligible voters to vote and look at all the options that they have. We should be happy that we have options for our people to look at. In some instances, in some places, people don't have any options at all. So we have alternatives, and I'm one of those alternatives. And I want to be the alternative that Liberian people choose. And so that we work on changing the narrative of Liberia and changing our development trajectory.
When you were holding the discussions with various people in country and maybe outside as well about making a decision for the presidency, didn't the issue of the legislature come up?
Several perspectives have come up throughout the years, but for where we find ourselves now and for what I have to offer in terms of capacity, competence, and experiences, it would better be leveraged at the level of the presidency, and that's why I'm in the race.
Now, what would it cost you if you've decided to say, okay, I'm sure with the level of competences and education and all of that, let me begin with the legislature?
It's not a matter of what it will cost me. It's a matter of what it will cost the Liberian people if the Liberian people don't have the alternatives they need now for the presidency. It's about what we as a people decide we want to do in terms of changing our narrative. And it's about how we identify the leadership that will galvanize all of us as Liberians and bring us together on a program that will get to the heart of the matter, which is solving the issues of poverty, solving the issue of lack of empowerment for our people, solving the issues of development that we face. Right now, as we approach October, in terms of the options that we have as Liberians, our ticket provides over 50 years of development experience, direct development experience in actually implementing development programs that transform lives. Why should we not put that forward? Why should it wait in line, as the perspective is for many people? Oh, you have to come and get in line. Who was there before you? Let that person have their chance. Liberia doesn't have that time.
Because the reason I asked the question, Sarah, is that because Sarah is because in the legislature you could you could have the opportunity to learn governance and politics and all of that, and then to just head for the presidency.
And that's why I disagree with you.
Okay.
This is not about learning politics. Politics has failed us. This is not about who can be the best politician. Liberia doesn't need politicians and political rhetorics.
Okay.
Liberia needs development experts who can transform this country. Liberia needs people who have experience in public service. You don't have to serve in the legislature in order to know how to develop a country. You don't have to serve in the legislature to know how to transform a nation. And in fact, I want to ask you, where has the legislature transformed this country? Where are we now after 176 years? So let's look at Liberia from the perspective of where Liberia should be. And let's realize the fact that we failed. We have not done all that we should have done, because if we had done things properly, we won't be where we are today.
Okay.
So this is about how we recognize where we are as a country. We are at a point where we need to make decisions that will totally change the pathway of this country. After 176 years, what do we have to show for it? We can no longer say because we had a war. Other countries have had war. They've overcome, and then moving forward. We need to now be serious about development. And development is about us being able to identify the different sectors that need different programs, put those programs in place with people who have done it before.
Okay.
This is about experience coming to the table to develop this nation.
Okay, let me take you back, Sarah. Sarah, I have a correspondent whose name is Sarah, and so that name continues to come, but yours is Sarah. Now, let me take you back. Okay.
And Reverend Nyanti will be the best.
No. Now, if you reflected on former President Ellen Johnson said, if as a female, she was somehow visible prior to the national elections. She had the Neswa gun. That was a major, institution. Was touching the lives of Liberians, and then coming to the current president, President Weah, he became visible as well during the war years in refugee camps, giving arms and lifting the lives of these people and coming back home as well. Now, if we were to ask the Liberian people to elect you, what sort of track record would they elect you on?
They will elect me on the track record of having clear results in serving humanity, in serving people at home and in different countries around the world, countries with similar contexts like Liberia, and doing it at the highest level.
Okay.
They will be electing me based on my experience here locally in designing the HIV/AIDS program, in locally here in developing the proposal that was able to bring the Global Fund to Liberia, which continues to now be in Liberia until today. They will elect me based on community activities I've been doing up until now. Community activities such as feeding programs all the way back from 1999, 2000 to 2003.
Okay.
It only started when we had World War III. Feeding programs for the elderly, conducting community engagement, social movement for change, learning huts for adolescent girls, water services, developing, building latrines. restoring and building boreholes for communities. I've never stopped community engagement.
But how extensive are those?
Let me tell you this. The qualification for leadership should not be what community activities you've done.
Okay.
It shouldn't be how many activities you've had in a community. It should be about who's able to do the job. It should be about capacity to do the job. And we have seen in our country over the 176 years where we've ended up, where we find ourselves today. It's not based on, the government doesn't function based on how many community activities you did or whether you had an NGO or whether you're popular. Government functions based on knowledge, capacity, results. I have a track record of results. I have set up from scratch myself, leading a team to put in place a mechanism to pay cash benefiting 9 million people in a war-torn country in the middle of conflict with over 33 active conflict lines, where people receive cash in an envelope to lift themselves out of poverty, designed and implemented it successfully. That's a track record.
The reason I asked the question, Sarah, is because if you look at the voting population now, the first-time voters, they are in huge number. And if you were telling them about how you were somehow effective and you contributed to policy, fighting the HIV/AIDS and all of that, it may not come to that memory. So that's the reason I'm asking, what sort of track records that if you went to the the first time voters now to say, look, this is what I've done or I'm doing correctly.
What I just explained to you. Currently, I have 8 learning halls for adolescent girls, 30 girls each, paying female teachers and female psychosocial workers to teach them after school, to help them to perform better in school, because girls lag behind in schooling because of lack of access to the tools they need, including the services they need in school. So providing them menstrual hygiene and so forth. But let me say this, speaking of first-time voters, I don't focus on that.
Okay.
Speaking of first-time voters, which I've been doing, I speak to the issue of capacity and competency, because they look around them and they see what services they have or don't have. And they know that if people with experience was delivering services for them, that things will be different for them.
Okay.
But first and foremost, we don't have quality healthcare. We don't have quality education. And it's not by what somebody was doing at their personal level that will transform this country. Is what we do with our resources as a country. It's about governance. It's about good governance. It's about putting in place systems that serve all Liberians, equitable systems that provide the rights of Liberians. That's what this is about. And let me just correct you. When Madame Sirleaf first went to the polls in 1997, she didn't win. I think she got 50,000 votes or so, and it was after that she set up Meswagon. There's no set way in which one should approach leadership. Leadership is not about a position, but it's about influence. And even if the process can influence people towards the right direction and influence our conversation and our narrative, our political culture towards the issues, it's definitely for sure worth it. And so nobody can tell me that I shouldn't be in this race only because I haven't been in the legislature. Not everybody in this race has been in the legislature. This is about a country. It's about a people, a nation that's on the wrong track. We're not on the right trajectory to achieve the sustainable development goals.
Okay.
We're not on the right trajectory for the children who are born today to ensure that they have access to opportunities to reach their fullest development potential. Our conversation now needs to be not be about who's the first in the line, but it should be about who's best placed, who has the capacity and the competency to get the results for the people of Liberia.
Do you think it's what set it apart from all the other candidates?
It definitely sets me apart from all the other candidates, because none of the other candidates can tell me that they have the experience in public service in achieving results that impact millions of people as I have. And I want us to be clear about this when we're having these conversations, that the Liberian people should be now thinking about results and about track record in terms of public servants, in terms of being able to serve them in the way that they need to be served. Not about, let's not make this a popularity contest. I know for a fact that in everything that people have to know who they're talking to, and that's why we continue to engage people, to tell them who we are and tell them what we can do for them. But this, and I think the media has a role to play as well, to look at what is happening in other countries. We are far behind. And if we don't let the people know, because many people born in war, born after the war, born in chaotic chaotic scenarios in this country, feel that the way things look is how it's supposed to be. This is not how it's supposed to be. The way we are today is not the way it's supposed to be. Our political culture of violence and militancy and so forth, that's not how it's supposed to be. We need to transition to really build this country. We need to restart this country and build from scratch systems that will serve the needs of the people of Liberia, to ensure that our children can compete with other children around the world, that our children will catch up. Right now, other children around the world are dealing with artificial intelligence. Some of our children that had not even held a telephone. Some of our children have never held a computer. That's what we should be talking about. How do we make sure that we catch our children up with the rest of the children around the world and then position them for success?
Okay.
That's what it should be about.
You're listening to the SMS, right? On the ABC 99.9 and also frequencies across Liberia. We are speaking with a female presidential candidate, Sarah Beysolow Nyanti. Now, your critics may think that you've been out of touch for some time now, and not much, not much people know about you. When it comes to the political atmosphere, you just, Johnny just come in other words. How do you react to that?
Well, I would say to my critics that I'm not a Johnny just come, because this Jonetta, I will call myself not Johnny. This Jonetta has been journeying here in Liberia since 1998 when I returned full time, and I've been going in and out working. I've been working out, coming in and doing community activities and so forth. I'm not out of touch. I'm not out of touch with the people who continue to rely on me for support. I'm not out of touch with with young girls who continue to rely on me to help them get an education. I'm not out of touch with the people with whom I engage at the community level. I'm not out of touch with the people who I preach, the people I preach, the people I teach. I've been teaching nation building around this country since 2021, teaching pastors and church leaders the role of the church in nation building, how we come together as a people and unite. So I'm not out of touch. I haven't publicized what I've been doing because I wasn't doing it for politics in the usual political culture that we have. I was doing it because I always wanted to remain in touch and continue to be in touch. And I'm happy that I did that because it allowed me the opportunity to hear from people what they were going through, what they have been going through, what they continue to go through, and how they see the future of this country. And it's allowed me to be able to develop a manifesto that speaks to the heart of the issues and speak to the needs of the youth and the women. And I believe if given the chance to serve the people of Liberia, implementing the manifesto of African Liberation League, we will see transformation in Liberia. You
are a reverend, which you just admitted to a few seconds ago. There's a calling you have, to preach, to teach. Why can't you concentrate on that calling and do away with politics?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that question. So let me educate you on something. 1 Corinthians 12:28 tells you that God has set some, those he's called, he set some in churches, some as apostles, some as teachers, some as evangelists. He set some in the ministry of healing, some in the ministry of miracles, and so forth. He set some in government. King James Version. It's scripture. God's intent for nations is that nations will be led by people who understand his purposes for them and by people who will lead them in a direction that will foster his love. And God's love is total peace, and shalom is a state where people can enjoy their rights and people can benefit from the goodness of what God has provided. Okay. He says in Proverbs 29:2, he says that when the wicked rule, the people mourn, but when the righteous rule, the people rejoice. Putting that together collectively, God's intent for nations is that ministry is used to lead the people. And the biggest mistake we make when we talk about separation of church and state is our assumption that it's only people who don't know God who should lead. That's not God's intent at all. So this is ministry within itself. And I'm happy you asked the question. I always say that I won't talk about it publicly because for me it's ministry. For many people it's politics. But for me, I'm called to ministry of deliverance for transformation of nations. And that is why I'm doing this. It's one of the reasons why I'm doing this. And so nobody will dictate to me how I do it. I will do it as I'm led by God, and I will do what I've been doing all this while, is serving God through humanity.
So how do you manage your time? Let's assume you're supposed to be teaching and preaching, and here you are, you in the executive fashion, signing the documents and all of that, and making political decisions. How do you manage your time?
Deliverance of a nation is ministry. Deliverance of a nation from bondage, from the bondage of a mindset of dependency, deliverance from bondage, from the bondage of lack of access to rights. It's ministry, and that will occupy my time. Delivering a people and putting a people on a pathway for prosperity. Okay. And it's very important for us to continue to relate this, as you asked the question about my being a pastor or a reverend, to relate this to the fact that you have many who have served, who are ordained ministers, Malawi today has a president who's an ordained minister. Nothing stops you from serving God through that way. You don't have to be a nun or a pope to serve God. And once you recognize that the position God puts you in is for you to serve him by delivering his people, by bringing shalom to his people, it makes governance even easier. Because you have a purpose and you have a focus. It's not about what you do for yourself, it's how you serve others through that role. And that's one of the reasons why I've been successful in the UN, because I've not seen my UN work as a job. I've seen it as a call to purpose. And so I approach it as a call to purpose, which with this, I approach it in the same way.
Now, let's hear from you, Sarah, about your plans, about the manifesto you have. Let's assume tomorrow you went to elections October 10 and you emerged victorious. What is it on your plate?
On my plate is millions of people. We call ourselves Liberians because we're in a country called Liberia, but we're a nation that's divided. On my plate, first and foremost, is how we reconcile as a people. How we come together and heal after all the trauma we've had.
Okay.
We are traumatized people. And we're not united. We're divided, and people are capitalizing on that division. And first point would be to ensure that we start on a pathway towards reconciliation and unity. And a lot of our programs are geared towards that. I would definitely be calling for a historical commission to look at all of our pains and our hurts from the beginning of Liberia, from the beginning of our formation, looking back at historical issues, what have caused us pains and hurts that are manifesting today in our society. The amount of
Will you not be refreshing the wounds?
We have to deal with the wounds.
Okay.
We can't continue to sweep it under the carpet. We have to deal with where we're coming from in order for us to know where we're going. If you don't know where you're coming from, you never know where you're going.
Sure.
And many of our young people have inherited those pains. They've inherited all of that hurt, and it's acting on our society today. We have to deal with it if we want to truly move forward as one nation, one people. We have to ensure that we deal with those hurts and pains. We reconcile. We also provide services that will deal with the trauma. What's playing out in our communities in terms of anger, in terms of violence, it's trauma. And we should not underestimate the effect of it. Lots of children who were children fighting during the conflict ended up being adults with pains and hurts that were never dealt with. And they manifest now in different ways.
Okay.
The second thing that's very important for us to touch on is the fact that we are, as Liberians, we are all over the world because of conflict. We find ourselves, Liberians never really wanted to live outside of Liberia. Liberians, for the most part, love Liberia. Conflict led a lot of us out of the country.
Surely.
And so how we make sure we put in place mechanisms that bring all of our 16 counties together, and I'm referring to the 16th county as the diaspora, making sure that the best of Liberia, wherever you find yourself, there is an opportunity given to you to be able to come in and serve this country. We have skills and talents around the world that we haven't even tapped into because we continue to run government as a party and diffusing party from government and making sure government functions independently, that where all Liberians can find a space to be able to contribute is very important. Our manifesto looks at 7 key areas, focusing on health, on education, on labor and empowerment, economic empowerment, agriculture, safety and security, ensuring that we prioritize youth and prioritize women. One of the things I'm most excited about doing when I become president of Liberia is putting in place a national youth service scheme. And that national youth service scheme is geared towards ensuring that graduates in this country can come out and be part of a process to get them identified for internship in public service, but also in the private sector as well, putting in place a national system that will also take youth to different parts of this country to serve. Provide an incentive for us to understand the different cultures we have around we're diverse people, so beautiful and rich, but many of us don't even know each other because of exclusionism and because of divisions. And so using that as an opportunity for youth to go around the country to serve in different areas, especially the rural areas, focusing on strengthening rural area services and making sure that youth are prepared for the job market so that they can be competitive. In terms of informal education, we're talking about how we can, as an African Liberation League-led government, reform vocational training, to look at new skills needed in the new Liberia. For example, I know that we're going to have commercial quantity oil and gas. We're going to be productive in that particular area. It will happen. And when it happens, are Liberians ready to serve those sectors? Are Liberians ready with the skill sets that are required to ensure that jobs are not exported? We don't continue to export our jobs, but that we create jobs for Liberians who don't want to go into the formal education system. So making sure we move beyond just catering and driving and so forth for vocational training by identifying new skills, mapping out new skills that youth will need to be able to serve in the new Liberia. Importantly, also is the fact that we will focus on rehabilitation of our young people, because our resources, the richness of our country, a lot of our wealth is sitting in ghettos.
Okay.
People call them Zogos. I call them our wealth. Our wealth is rotting away, and we're putting in place programs to make sure that we have national systems for rehabilitation, where we don't have pockets of rehabilitation, but really national systems with referral mechanisms that ensure that young people have access to rehabilitation and automatically have a track towards vocational training or formal education, depending on their desire and their aspirations. But we must also work on curtailing the spread of drugs around the country. The proliferation of drugs around our country is a threat. It's a real threat. And strengthening the security services, the DEA and others, to ensure that we provide them the incentives to be able to curtail the situation of the spread of drugs.
You have 4 lists of things on your plate that you want to address when you become president. How do you get the resources? What are you thinking about getting the resources from?
Definitely, for sure, expanding our economic base, ensuring that we increase revenue generation. Also looking at already the fiscal space and how we manage the fiscal space, looking at increasing access to services, which means increasing allocation for actual programs and services and reducing the recurrent costs. The important feature of our manifesto is also economic diversification, how we strengthen the agricultural sector to create jobs in agriculture, but also to ensure that we increase local consumption, so that farmers have an incentive to continue to plant and move beyond subsistence farming, but really to large-scale farming, where we can put in place a mechanism to ensure that food is bought here locally, decreasing the importation of rice and other foods, and increasing our local consumption of our homegrown foods. This is important not only for economic diversification, it's also important for school feeding, education, and retention of students in school, especially primary school, making sure we institute a national school feeding program that will ensure that it is also part of our poverty reduction strategy, because when children have a meal, they learn better, and they're better prepared to learn and better prepared to be productive citizens in the future, and come out with a view of being self-sufficient. So it's an integrated program geared towards ensuring poverty reduction and empowerment, legislating a women's enterprise fund and a youth enterprise fund that will allow access to funds for these 2 critical groups in our country, and translating those funds over time into a Liberian business bank.
How do you deal with the issue of nepotism and corruption?
Within the first 100 days of my leadership, we'll have a fast-track corruption court.
Or do we see Mrs. Steve Nyanti be your Minister of State for Presidential Affairs?
Stephen Nyanti is not interested in government.
You would have been. So how do you deal with that?
Fast-track corruption court, a fast-track corruption court that will serve as a deterrent, because we do have structures in place in Liberia that's supposed to deal with corruption. One of the challenges we have is how we deal with the results from the General Auditing Commission, how we deal with the recommendations from the Anti-Corruption Commission. How do we ensure that we have a continuum in terms of justice when we have these cases brought forth in terms of corruption? That fast-track corruption court immediately will be set up and staffed with trained personnel who will ensure that cases are tried immediately with a very short wait time, and cases that have been pending will be tried in that court, and ensuring that we share the results so that people know that it's not business as usual. But I want to say this very, very seriously. Corruption is not just about government. And I think it's a little bit unfair for us as a people when we talk about corruption. We only look at it from the perspective of public servants. Corruption is everywhere from the market all the way up, because we've made it a way of life. Bribing, having access to things without the proper process and so forth. It's something we we do at all levels as a country, and it's become acceptable. And I think we need to recognize that as a people, and all of us need to work on it together. It's not only for government, it's for all of us as Liberians. Because if you expect that the woman in the market will have to pay somebody to have a table where it is, and the police will not be given his salary, but then he's expected to police within a particular area depending on nothing, we are actually creating the environment for corruption to thrive. So we have to work on corruption from a perspective of us as a people agreeing that we want to move away from this, noting that we are actually wasting resources in that corrupt system.
Okay. Very shortly open the lines, but before then, we have a couple of individuals in the political race for the presidency. The former vice president, Joseph Boaka, who's been in public service for 40 years or more than that, is in the race. Cummings as well, Alexander is in the race. Looking at the key, and George Weah as well, there was the incumbent, the current president also in the race. What has given Sarah Beysolow Nyanti that audacity, in another word, to venture into the race for the presidency with all those people who served in government for more than 40 years, some of them from the legislature, some of them from the private sector, and you've come to join?
I have the audacity of hope, and not to be cliche, but I have the audacity of hope that the Constitution of Liberia will be seen as the Constitution of Liberia, providing for me to be able to stand up as a Liberian with capacity and competency and say that I want to serve my people. I have that right. So it's not the audacity, it's the ability, it's the courage. And I am very, very sure that there are many Liberians who are glad that I've entered this race. Many Liberians, those that called upon me to enter, who felt that they wanted an alternative. And I joined because of that. And I didn't join because of those people. I joined because of the fact that I have something to offer, and people want me to offer that to the country. And let's go to October 10th and see what people decide. But nobody should be stopped from serving their country. The Constitution allows us to do that. Nobody should be stopped from trying to serve their country. Whoever wants to serve should be given the opportunity to serve. And I will say to you, I will not use my time to discuss others. I won't use my time to discuss other people in the race. I will use my time to discuss what the Liberian people need and how I can help us to get to where we need to go. At the end of the day, Liberians will decide whether it is length of time in legislature, length of time at the community level, length of time in the private sector, length of time on development and humanitarian leadership, whatever it is that resonates with the Liberian people, they will act on it, they will vote, and they will decide. But other than that, we shouldn't discourage anybody from participating in this notion that people have that you came late. You shouldn't have entered because it's late. I disagree with it fully. And I asked the question, late for what? Because I came on time to register. I came on time to become a candidate, and I'm on time for the voting. When you do an application process and you say you have from Monday to Friday to submit your applications, you who's looking for the best, you will not take the applications that came on Monday. You will wait until Friday, you'll review the applications, and you will take the person who best serves your needs. That's what the Liberian people deserve. And so we shouldn't be promoting this idea of it's a first come, first serve. It's not. Serving the Liberian people is not about first come, first serve. It's about capacity and competencies. Who's done things relevant to what Liberian people need. That's what this should be about.
Are you hoping to win, or are you sure of winning?
I'm not hoping to win. I will lead Liberia.
Okay, so
I will lead Liberia.
So granted that maybe you didn't succeed. I'm saying granted that you didn't succeed. Will you be willing to accept an offer from the winner?
Well, it depends. It depends because, and I say it depends because it depends on me and other political leaders who are agreeing to come together in a memorandum of understanding around key areas. And that's something we're working on now. And the possibility of a round 2 is within that conversation. We have not decided yet on the final that we're going to be signing, but it will all depend on many factors. So what I would say is that I've been given the opportunity to learn development from the ground up. I've been given the opportunity to serve from community level to experiences with local government, support to local government development, support to national systems development, support to good governance and so forth. I've served least developed countries like Liberia. I've served countries worse than Liberia, countries better than Liberia, and I've seen what works and what doesn't work. I've seen how it should be done. I've been part of and implemented some of those programs in terms of how it should be done. And so what I would say to you is that what's best for the Liberian people in terms of my capacity and competency that I bring to the table is what will be playing out. Other than that, I can't say much more because we're still in discussions as the willing opposition parties who are coming together in an MOU around how we're going to move forward to protect our votes in their...
Let me put this question direct. I did ask, and let me try to transform it. If you didn't win the presidency, Sarah Beysolow Nyanti, and maybe Joshua won, were you accepting an offer from Joshua?
I can't speak to that now because that would be real speculation in terms of what the scenario will look like. So all I can say is that I'm here to serve the Liberian people, and I will ensure that whatever I do in the rest of the years of my life, it will be about serving the Liberian people in a way that my skills and competencies and capacity.
So you don't have a plan B yet?
How would I have a plan B when I'm about to be president?
Maybe you could leave room for politics. I like that. Do I have a plan B? You're very optimistic or upbeat.
Of course, I'm upbeat. I'm upbeat about a country that I love so dearly, a country that I am proud to say that I hail from, a country that I believe so sincerely will see its fullest development potential if all of us as Liberians come together to work towards that and walk away from this political culture of violence and hate and divisiveness, but walk towards really becoming a true nation. So I believe in that. I believe it's possible, and that's what I'm working towards.
Okay, so let's take a few calls quickly. 0776, that's the alternative line, 540-987, or better still, 0880-514-096. That's the numbers to call. And you are live on the SMS this morning. Again, 0880-514-096, or better still, 0776-540-987. Good morning. Oh, let's take this call quickly. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Let's hear from you. You have to lower the volume of the radio, please.
This is Beysolow Brown. I call from Beysolow.
Let's hear from you quickly.
Yeah, I'm not appreciated. I listened to her articulation this morning, and she was well on court. She's well on court. These are the kind of people that we need. But I think she has to do more because our politics now in Liberia, like what she was saying, people are always saying, you just come in, you came late, where have you been? But I think, like what she said, she has been doing some work in Liberia and even at an international level. So that experience, I think the mind she has from Liberia and Liberia is a good one. So I'm going to appreciate her, and I hope she becomes a victorious. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, sir.
Many thanks. Let's take this caller. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning, sir.
Yeah, my name is Roosevelt Faso Banks, and I phoned me from Broadway this morning.
Okay.
I want to say good morning to Nyanti, Liberia's incoming president. Nyanti, I want to wish you all the best. You know, you come to the table with a wealth of experience, wealth of knowledge that Liberia needs, and I believe with the help of God that the Liberian people will see it fate to have you elected come October 10th. Thumbs up to you, and I wish you the best. Congratulations in advance.
Thank you, sir.
Many thanks. Let's take this caller. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir. Let's hear from you quickly.
Okay, my name is Jeff Arrow Williams. I call from Painesville. I just want to commend your sweet address this morning. And we pray that God will help us, that you will help to redeem Liberia.
Man, it's thanks. Let's take this kind of caller. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Okay, this is Princess Togad. I call you from Firestone.
Yes, go right ahead.
Okay, I want to thank you. I want to appreciate the you get this money so much for what she have explained. She have explained a lot. I want to say thank you, man. But the parent there now, with all the good things you explain, how to some of us who have listened to your explanation follow you and we don't know whether you have ever around here some offices around. How do we get to you, man? And we got crucial time. Thank you so much.
Okay, she'll respond to that. Let me take a call from the other side, second line, quickly. Good morning. Good morning. Hello?
Good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning, sir. Let's hear from you. Let's hear from you. It seems this call is not ready. Let's take this other caller. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning, sir.
This is Thomas Ndima, and I call you from Subatan to put out the Unity Party.
Quickly, let's hear from you.
Yeah. Thank you, madam. I listened to all what you said, but with all what you said, I would say that Joseph Nyumabwaka is the next president. So please join the team in Bwaka. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, morning, Bivora Shaba.
Yes, good morning, sir.
They just on the corridor and around here, they be hospital and member of regular division.
Okay.
What I want to say, I want to deploy lady for speedy liberation, but to just tell her that people going to base on tangibility, not promises. Thank you.
Man, thanks. This is a call on the line. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm okay, sir.
It's a pleasure to listen to the lady in there. That's Nyanti. I listened to her. She said a lot of things. Too many things she said. She boasts of her education and her expertise and the rest of it. And she went as far as talking about the church, her service. And you ask her some question, how is she going to separate? Or how is she going to use her time with respect to church work and that of politics? And I think she addressed herself to that. But I just hearing about her. She said she served in Taylor's government, and she has a lot of programs that going around or she has done here in this country, and I could speak for her. And I have been going all around here. She talks about the AIDS program. She talks about another global fund. I heard about global fund. I don't know who is the face behind global fund and those programs she's talking about. I don't know where they are located in this country. And the rest of it. There's a guy that came here and said he wanted to be president. Oloko's brother, he's from Lofa. He talks about how he served in this country, as a military man. To be specific, he said that he's a Marine officer who retired, came to be president. And what he has learned from those countries and did to those countries, he wants to do them here. When we push into the world, he could not actually produce anything. Now, I'm hearing her talking a lot of things because she's talking is too much. And she said also that you said to her, you asked her a question about, I don't know whether you want to ask that question, why she came late. And she said, well, it's not about coming late and so forth. But you have to be on the ground doing something. I mean, nothing is visible. Tangibly visible that she's actually doing or that she has done so that, that can attract the electors or those who understand what she's saying and that she can be marketable, for what she's talking about. Nothing is visible. For me, I just hear about her. I don't know which other country she's from, whether she's better she's here or who, I don't even know. All
Okay.
these things need to be mentioned.
Okay. Many seconds. I think we make a point already. Let's take this caller. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
I'm okay.
All right. Thank you. Morning, great fun. I followed the video guest there, Madam Nyanti. I'm a person from Lebanon. I am editing this to calling from District 1, most of the country. I just got the interest in her exposition. And it is my hope and prayer that I will be able to one day talk with her for us to meet and see what we can do some working in District 1, because the entire District 1, we are not even seeing flyer for her or neither seeing the party emblem. So I hope she will look on the star to see whether she can establish some of her branches or office, sub-office this week.
Okay.
So thank you so much.
Many thanks. Let me take 2 more calls from this line and then I'll close it up. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Yeah. Yes, I'm Kasumu Dolly.
Let's hear from you.
Yeah, I've listened to Sarah in studio there. She has a good plan for the country. But I would like to know where her headquarters is located so some of us can stick around her.
Okay. Many thanks. I'm sure she'll talk about that. 07880-514-0960. One more call we take, and I'll go back to our studio guests quickly. 0880514-096. That's the number to call, and you are live on the SMS this morning. Our guest here is a female presidential aspirant, candidate rather. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, let's hear from you quickly.
How are you?
I'm okay.
Okay, I'm fine. No, check my schedule yesterday. And you know what? We like people, we used to be careful to one another. You know, see, I feel all the way. Everything she's saying is the same thing that the person we are getting. So I don't want to tell her that. That was too courage. And that person, we are not operating that person. We are saying, what is the sample? So, the person that he has studied, he has doing where everything I talk about study. We are doing all. So, okay. We just need to pray for him so that 2023 election, that person, we are go back and finish a court.
Okay.
Thank you.
Many thanks. We really appreciate your time this morning. Let's go back to our studio guests. You listen to all the phone calls, listen to all the comments and some commendations, some dating. I'm sure so well. What's your reaction?
There's nothing that didn't sit well, because you understand that in public service you're dealing with diverse views, you're dealing with diverse perspectives, and all perspectives are important, and that's why inclusive participatory governance is critical if you really want to be successful. So there's nothing that was said that would offend or upset.
Okay.
Thanks to those who would like to be a part of what we are doing and want to be engaged, I will provide a phone number that they can call in the event they would like to get deeper into our movement, which some of them expressed. African Liberation League, the headquarters it's near the Catholic Junction, and it's opposite where the old AGM church used to be. And point noted on all those that said they haven't seen things from us yet. You are right, because we're not in all of the districts yet. We haven't extended across the length and breadth. It's something we're working on, and you will feel us.
Why are you delaying to do that?
We're not delaying, we're doing it, but understand we're a new party. It started May 30th, and it's a reality.
Okay.
The party was just certificated May 30th, and we did come in later than others. That we acknowledge that, and that's why we have to work triply hard to make sure we get the information to every Liberian around the country, and that's why we're here.
You got less than 2 months now.
We're going to do it.
Okay.
We're going to do it. So, for those that encourage me to join, team up with 1 or 2 other people, the time has passed for that now. We're in the race. We're going to October 10th, and I hope that by the time October 10th come, you will reconsider who you'll be voting for, because you'll be voting for capacity and competency and not for popularity or not for any other factor that may not be necessary in terms of delivering a country, in terms of development. I want to say though, it's there was a person who asked about or mentioned somebody who said they had worked in the government before and they ended up they never had. Somebody who said that they had different experiences, they didn't have those experiences. The work that I did in the Ministry of Health with the National AIDS Control Program, ex-combatants and so forth, people are still around. The minister I serve with is still around. Deputy ministers are still there. Staff I work with, they're still around. And then also for those who have access to internet, you can Google and you'll see all the work that I've done. The track record is online. But that's not the important part. The important part and the challenge to us, which we take up very seriously, is to get to the Liberian people and to let them know this face to face. Make sure that they understand it, they know it, and they make an informed decision on October 10th. That's what we're working on, and that's what we hope to achieve. The number I will share, I will give you a number that you can call. Should you want more information, just give me 1 second. I'll give you the telephone number you can call. Should you want more information, I'll give you 2 numbers that you can call to access us very readily. The first one is 0770. Forgive my eyes.
Go ahead.
Forgive my eyes. Let me put on my glasses. 0770 479 312. That's the first number you can call. That's the number for our SG who runs the daily affairs of our party. And then you can call 0886 730 809.
Okay.
Those 2 numbers will give you the information that you need. And we look forward to working with you. We look forward to coming and meeting you in your communities as we've been doing with other communities. And we look forward to the results on October 10th. Please get ready for those who want to be a part of our transformation for Liberia. Please get ready for the transformational agenda, because it's one that will take off with steam after the elections.
How much are you spending for the campaign? 50 billion?
I think the issue here for us to be discussing is who's best placed to lead this country towards the development trajectory that's necessary. And I'm the one who's best placed for that.
Okay, so you want to tell us about your campaign fantasy. Okay, many thanks, Sarah Beysolow, Nyanti. We really appreciate your time this morning on the SMS. We hope to again play host to you when the need arises. Thank you very much for taking time off a busy schedule.
And thanks to you as well for the engagement. But I wish you could answer the caller and tell the caller you worked with me when I was at ACE program. So that caller who was wondering where was I, and it's not true I work for the ACE program. This host can tell you we work together, partner on media for AIDS.
What drove me into your campaign? Okay, so many thanks.